Hello everybody, my name is Leonid Chok. Welcome to my channel Enlightened Talks. Today I would like to present to your attention an interview that I did recently with Hannes Chopra. Hannes Chopra is a high-level business executive who has managed companies such as Allianz in Europe. During the course of the conversation, we discussed important issues such as the coronavirus pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and the educational system. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and I hope you too will find it entertaining and inspiring. The first question of the interview was regarding the coronavirus pandemic. Due to the fact that many new issues have taken its place, such as the war that is happening in Europe right now, coronavirus has been at the back of many people's minds. So I asked Hannes for his opinion. What does he think? Is coronavirus finally gone? Let's hear to find out.
No, it is not gone.
It is not gone.
It is not gone in no way. Coronavirus for me has been only in a way a metaphor of and a signal of the dramatic and profound changes we are going through in our life. We truly live in transformational times. And if you look at it by any means, the number of data, the number of inventions, the number of people being put in new situations, and you look at our life and you take the last 6 years and all the changes which happened, and those changes were more profound than the 50 years before those last 6 years. And if you look at the next 4 years, these changes will be much more profound than the last 6 years and the 50 years before. The acceleration of change is dramatic, and a lot of this externally induced. And one of those external inductions or induced challenges is coronavirus. So what I'm trying to say, is call it coronavirus, call it now the invasion of Ukraine, call it anything else which is happening. These are just all, unfortunately, signals of a dramatically accelerating pace of change with which we humans have to deal with. If we are not being prepared to be able to deal with this is a signal. Get ready for a world which is so dramatically changing. We will continuously be exposed to some challenges which will also be in the area of what we nowadays call a pandemic. Why? Because over time you cannot outsmart nature. The general idea behind this, however, if I look at it even on a higher level, Leonid, is a very profound lesson which I fear we haven't yet learned, is that one small problem somewhere in the world affects everyone. And coronavirus has basically brought this to the forefront. There is this beautiful line in the Upanishad, one of the Vedanta literatures, where it says that the whole world is one family. It's over 3,000 words old. The whole world is a family. Say the magnanimous, be detached, be magnanimous, lift up your mind, and enjoy the fruit of Brahmanic freedom. This is how this line goes in Upanishad. Leonid, over 3,000 years old. And there's also in the Bible this beautiful saying, whatever you did to my smallest brother, something like this, Jesus says, you've done to me. Mm-hmm. That is something for us as humans to understand. And the more we understand it, and the quicker we understand, the better our life will be. Whatever we do, every action we do always creates a reaction in the world. So yeah, there will be other variants. There might be another virus. I mean, the risk of a pandemic has been in all scenarios of all governments already for decades. So it has not been really, really new in that way. We have to get used to that. This can be a pandemic. This can be any other disease. We really have to learn to live with that.
What do you personally think about the vaccination? Have you been vaccinated?
I have been vaccinated, yes. I have also got immunity by having had the virus.
And was it in a simple form, like easy form?
When I was sick, it was very mild, very, very mild. What we human beings are capable of. Within this period, to build a vaccination, to me is magical. So I'm very grateful that I live in times where I have a choice and I can get this vaccination. And look, when I was born, I got vaccinated against different diseases. Nobody asked my opinion. It was just normal as a child that you get in Germany this vaccination, this chicken pox and a few other child diseases which could have been deadly, and where thank God there was a vaccination. So it's not that this is something completely new. Wow, suddenly people come up with an idea of vaccination and now they're forcing me. No, I think we need to build our immunity. We have to understand again some basic notions of life that, as Hippocrates said, you are what you eat. If I would be driving a car and we would be driving together. And then we go to a petrol station and I put some fuel in and I put some water in and I put some Coca-Cola all into this tank. You would say, Hannes, are you mad? How are we going to drive? This is what we do with our human body. We would not do it to our car. We know that if we want the car to function, we only put this either petrol or diesel or whatever it needs, or electricity. We eat the most insane stuff where we know zero nutritional value. It's even against our body. It's like putting water in a tank. And you know that the general idea of immunity is any kind of virus or bacteria, when you have a more or less well-developed immunity, you can deal with it, you can handle it.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see that from the fact that many youngsters, they don't normally get sick with COVID in a very serious form. Like normally it's just a mild fever or something like that, whereas for many older people who have already damaged their immune system, like by eating the wrong stuff and by drinking stuff.
I'm not saying or blaming anyone I'm just saying, please consider this, that next to this aspect of vaccination, there's a huge aspect of what are the life choices you are making? How are you treating this one? Assuming for a moment that I might be right about the accelerated change and transformations in the world, then no vaccination will help us in this accelerated change. We have to strengthen our resilience, our self-care, our inner core to be able to deal with anything which comes in the future. So that is it's not anymore a nice to have to be in good health. It is more and more becoming a must-have, because the outside forces are pushing much more than they used to do 10 or 20 years ago.
Coronavirus somehow brought about this apartheid of different camps. Some people, they think that it's all a complete hoax, and then there's also another camp that it takes it very seriously. I noticed how actually people fight over these issues. So why do you think that people responded in that manner?
My message number one is the fact that people can have their own opinion and can form their own conclusions is absolutely fantastic. That makes us human. We have the ability to reason. We have an intellect which separates us from all other beings. So we should apply it. Secondly, the way how you use your intellect is purely your choice. You are given freedom. You're given the freedom of what you do with your body, what you do with your emotions, what thoughts you want to have, what literature you read, how you form your opinion. That is the basic notion as a human being. With this, also a responsibility comes. I think we are not strengthening enough this aspect, and this is part of the education system problem. The notion that when you are given freedom, a huge amount of responsibility comes with it. Because every choice you now make, it's your choice. Please see that these are two sides of the same coin. So how do I come to choices? And what does responsibility mean? Meaning, how far do I look beyond? Do I look only me, or perhaps my family, or perhaps even wider? Coming back to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world is one family. How far do I want to take it? I don't want to get sick? Fine. I don't want my family to get sick? Okay, I take care of them as well. But perhaps also the larger community. So I should wear a mask. Most of the lockdowns happened in February, March 2020. The whole world reacted in an unprecedented way. First vaccinations came out, proper vaccinations, like 9 to 12 months after. If I look at Spain, where I live, the vaccination rate is for the highly affected people above 65, over 95%. Overall, it's in the high 80s. If I look at countries which are lagging behind, like in Europe, like in Germany, it is still in the high 70s. 18 to 24 months after a virus came out, you have these levels, you have a vaccination, you have these levels of vaccination rates. Literally, that is incredible. Wow.
Hannes, so coronavirus now in Europe, I think, and probably all over the world as well, has been, kind of at the background of people's mind for some months now, because maybe issues that are more serious right now and more threatening are there, such as the war that is happening in Ukraine right now. So I wanted to ask you, as a person who lives in Spain, how has this war personally affected you?
Leonid. What a question. It's a huge tragedy, a huge tragedy. And I can tell you, as in my generation, I would have never expected that we come back to that. But again, that is human nature. How has it affected me? I lived nearly 15 years in Russia. I worked in Russia. I was, and one of my responsibilities was also Ukraine. So I was fortunate enough to be many times in Ukraine to basically build and start Allianz Ukraine, the insurance company there, meet lots of people, see the incredible beauty of this country. And Kiev for me is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. So, and my wife is Russian. My kids, twin boys, 14 years now, they've been born in Russia. Through my wife, we have relatives. Her nephew lives in Kiev, is married to a wonderful Ukrainian lady. I have lots of friends there, as I have in Russia. There is a certain link with this war, which makes it more personal than probably other conflicts. Although I feel a bit of shame saying this, because actually it's one of the reflections I had. Every conflict in the world, in a way, should affect me, and I should be somehow part of it. And I have not been, and that's certainly a lesson and a reflection I take with me. And yeah, it is affecting me in that sense. It is also affecting me that I say, okay, in my generation, I cannot allow that. So I should do everything possible to be as much part of the solution in this conflict as well as I could. We have since 3 months now a Ukrainian refugee family with us from Odessa. For people who live with us in our home, I'm trying to be useful in whatever way I can in this conflict to different people. So in very small, humble ways, I'm trying to, let's say, make the glass, if not half full, but a little bit more full than empty. I have created situations also that it's affecting me more by having this refugee family and by being involved. But that's a choice.
Yeah. People argue about ideologies, whether or not one side is correct, whether the other side is correct. Do you think that violence at such a scale can ever be possibly justified?
There is a very simple answer. No, not at all. Not at all. And whatever we discuss and say, this has to be the starting point. No, it cannot be justified. I mean, there is no right word to describe how impossible and inadequate whatever happened since end of February is, and the whole mindset behind this. If we study a bit deeper the human mind and human nature, it is unfortunately part of human nature that we are capable of such things, and at any given moment this can happen because we are humans. And why making sure that we use whatever faculties we have in a way that it serves is so important, and is one of the key roles education should play, because the ability to reason and to think and to come to any conclusion can go in multiple ways, also in deciding to go for violence. The human faculties do not know any moral, and unfortunately this is the reality of human beings. What really comes out to me, Leonie, I have only words of admiration of your fellow countrymen and women. And also due to this terrible war, I've been blessed to meet incredible human beings. They are just role models, and they're showing the other side of what human beings are capable of in terms of courage, in terms of belief, in terms of emotions, in terms of moving on, in terms of choosing a response, in terms of, in the midst of the most difficult hardship when everything is gone, there is still a choice to make as a human being. As Viktor Frankl said, even in the darkest moments, nobody can take away from a human being the way you want to relate to reality. So, and if I look at it wider, I'm really happy to see the wave of support all over the continent. Simple human beings who are giving shelter, who are coming together and making sure that whoever comes over the border is helped in a way. Let us please not forget this side. This is incredible. There is a few maniacs who decided to go for this aggression, and there's millions of people who say, stop, we can do better and we will do better. And that I find truly humbling and encouraging.
Now the West is getting hit by sanctions and by not being able to import Russian oil. So this brings about the doubt of how long do you think this support can last for?
Everything terrible always also has some good things. And one of the good things you will see, Leonid, is Ukraine is on the map of the world. Point. Forever. More than ever and forever. And secondly, so many of your countrymen and women will shape the future of Europe. There are now people from your fellow countrymen and women all over, and you will see how they will bring the beauty of your tradition, the beauty of your culture, the beauty of your literature, the beauty of your music, the beauty of your thoughts, the beauty of the courage of your people in all corners of this continent. There is nothing stronger than people-to-people communication, learning, reflection, and we will see this as an outcome of many years to come. And this will change how Ukraine is seen, but also how Europe will be. It will add to the power of Europe. I have seen in many, I see this in Poland, I see this in Germany, also here in Spain, that those who come, they very quickly, in a very active way, become and have this desire to become fully functioning participants of society. They actively seek for work, they want to contribute, and they actually, a lot of them still hope they can go back and rebuild Ukraine. So this, okay, we will help and we will give them something mindset is shifting towards, oh wow, that's amazing how they contribute. And this is usually the phase you have to quickly get in, that people see. And I mean, you look at, and now I'm taking the perspective of the existing European countries, they all have a huge demographic problem, aging societies. You have many villages, small cities in Italy and Spain, which are basically, the average age is 70 plus. They are dying out. No young person wants to be there. You have a huge deficit of some specialized work. People who work in automobile manufacturing and other manufacturing businesses. And now you have this inflow of hugely talented, highly clever, motivated, wanting to work people with a completely different age pattern. And I had one situation when I was looking for shelter for some Ukrainian brothers and sisters. A mayor in a town in Rioja region in northwest of Spain said, look, I have a couple of hundred people live here in this village, and this is my chance to rejuvenate it. So I want to take 100 refugees. Can you help me in taking refugees? I'm providing everything for them. I will register them. I just want a different influx, a different life here. So this is something which will probably change this notion of, okay, we give you some credit and we have some patience, towards, oh my God, they are such valuable members of our society. So happy that we have them with us. As I think your president keeps on repeating, rightly so, this is not a Ukraine issue. This is basically a reset of how we need to look at relations with different players in this world, and a reset in what values we believe in. And if there still would have been different assumptions, which country or which groups of countries stand for which values, there is hardly any disagreement anymore. This has become clear. For the West to say we have to completely change our energy mix, and this will mean sacrifices, and this will mean higher prices for energy, this is not just and mainly a topic of we want to declare solidarity to Ukraine. It is. But it is basically accelerating a message saying we cannot depend on countries with a completely different value system in something as essential as energy. And anyhow, there is a shift towards more alternative energy, more sustainable. So it is accelerating. But in the longer term, 3 to 5 year perspective, everybody will say, wow, what a tremendous acceleration towards the right direction. And we used this horrible terror and aggression to basically understand what is necessary and needed. And fortunately, this comes together, becoming more independent from oil and gas. It's exactly what we anyhow wanted. And now we have a reason to accelerate. This is a bit, the Western chance to say, don't waste this good crisis to now say, now we go full speed for more sustainable energies, to get independent from potentially unreliable sources and really build a different energy agenda.
Hannes, about 6 million Ukrainians have left the country at this point, and many of our youngsters are receiving education abroad. How do you think this will affect them in the future, receiving, Western education?
Look, in a personal way, I mean, this is really a tragedy for your people and especially young people. In a personal way, I wish, linked with some hope that this will make the young people of Ukraine even more resilient than they anyhow are. This being thrown out of your comfort zone and somehow moving on will be strong and will add tremendous value to you. When you ask about the Western education, I think you will benefit. All of them will benefit from it, but it goes both ways. I think the educational system will also benefit. And, I very much believe that systems always influence each other. You will also influence the systems and the content to the benefit of educational systems. You might know that I'm very critical when it comes to educational systems. I think they're dramatically lagging behind to what is needed. And my wish would be that also this will be a trigger to rethink education in moving away from knowledge and teaching what is right and wrong and then checking this in something we call exams and then giving grades and creating this artificial competition between people towards much more immersive experiential learning. What the system brings out is not enough for this world. It's completely wrong. When you graduate from a school or a university, you have graduated, but actually you know nothing about life and you didn't learn a single skill set to thrive in this world. And you haven't addressed the main questions of life, which are, who am I and what is life? And this has to change.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to share my own experience briefly. I was educated in the UK, in the United Kingdom, and myself felt like it was an immense struggle for me as a Ukrainian to be there, to be exposed to a different culture, to be out of my comfort zone. Many of my friends who have graduated from top universities, they come out and they don't know what they want to do. They're not happy. Many people are depressed. And so this brings about like so many questions about really the fundamental value of the education system. Do you think that there is any, existing system in the world that can bring about, these values for people, like skill sets that they need in the real world?
Oh yes. There is a lot of initiatives going on. I mean, one of the institutions we spoke about, Vedanta Academy near Bombay, is a fascinating institution on learning about life and what is most important, and understanding that we as human beings, our true nature is not our body and not our mind. It is something else. And on this level, we should relate. And on this level, we should develop. Mm-hmm. Ironically, educational systems stop there and they identify people just on the level of body and mind. And there will always be differences there. There will always be conflict there. When we come to what really makes us unique, there's a different approach. There is Look, I put my kids in an innovative school. People are interested on this Vedanta Academy, vedantaworld.org. You can Google Learn Life. The school is called learnlife.com or .org, I think. There is Green School in Indonesia and different places. There is a fascinating innovative school in Berlin, ESBZ, Evangelische Schule Berlin Zentrum. There is so many concepts where people are rethinking education. There is a university where I have the privilege to teach here in Barcelona, harborspace.org, teaching new skills. And one of the courses I do there is about life navigation. It's called Limitless Human Becoming. Mm-hmm. You see more and more of the classical universities, Columbia University, Stanford University, they all have courses about how to live a good life. This is coming, Leonid, more and more and more, and this will accelerate. So I have a lot of hope there. We should also understand that educational systems are probably the most resilient and the most difficult to change over time. So we need a bit of patience there. But frankly, also there, COVID has helped for everyone to understand. What COVID did, as my friends shared with me, and I was lucky that my kids were already in Learn Life in this innovative school. If you take, Leonid, the social component out of school and you just put the content, especially for kids below 12 or 14 years, they understand that it's complete nonsense. They sit with some paper, they fill it out, and there's no social interaction. Any kid realizes, Mom, why am I doing this? Dad, what are we doing here? COVID has helped in that regard to accelerate the move towards this. And this is one of our most important responsibilities as a society, to rebuild the educational system.
And as you say, coronavirus definitely affected that. Now what's getting really popular are these short training programs by various business people, or people who have really applied themselves in the world and achieved something rather than learned a textbook theory. So what is your opinion on such courses? Do you think that they could in some time replace the formal education system?
One of the beauty of our times is that you can have any knowledge, any skill you want to learn, any topic you want to deepen at your fingertip.
Yeah.
You want to learn something, you Google, you look at YouTube, at your fingertip you have it. How amazing is that? The choice is yours. I'm absolutely sure that the educational system will change. It will have to become much more practical. It will have to become much more challenging. It will actually have to, decide, what are we actually navigating? I have lots of respect for all people who build success in business. We should just ask ourselves, what is actually the role model I'm thriving for? And then very wisely choose. Building a big business and being the founder of a company of a couple of hundred, couple of thousand, perhaps hundreds of thousands of people is great. Do I consider this a role model? I would doubt. Creating wealth for myself does not make the world better. I have much more respect to someone in his or her small community creating change than to any huge business person. And I'm not trying to belittle this business person, but the mindset and approach of how we do things has to become more and more important than just at face value saying, oh, X amount of turnover, X amount of profit, this innovation, that innovation. Wow, that should be a role model. There's this beautiful saying by again, in one of those Mahabharata stories by Hanuman, who says, when I forget who I am, I serve you. When I remember who I am you. The future of education has to take this mindset in, that whatever I do, I have to always keep in mind, is this something, if everyone in the world would be doing it, that the world would move forward? Or am I actually exploiting, in a way, something to my own benefit? And it's high time, that we wake up to that, to understand that, again, as we started, if my business depends on exploiting something which somewhere is detrimental to someone else, it is not something good. I should be thinking twice what I'm doing with that. So I always should have a larger thinking in my mind, can this be replicated? And if not, what can I do that this could be replicated? So you know that Google said if you do any course on google.grow, 3 months, 6 months, if you go through it, it will be the equivalent of a university degree. Because the value we know we get from this is so much higher than a university degree. Mm-hmm. And we will go into that. If this would be, as Immanuel Kant said, become the law of the whole world, would this work? If yes, I'm on a good track. If not, then I suffer from a certain bias where I, as a business person, say, well, for me, other rules apply. And then I should not be a role model.
I'm sure that many people are aware of the fact that some of the most successful people in the world are not necessarily very happy people, but not many people ask themselves the question, like, where does happiness actually come from? Can you try to give your perspective on where happiness actually comes from?
I think that's a very personal question. And this is what I mentioned before, and you rather ask this question as early as you can in life. And there's an amazing book by Clayton Christensen, probably for me his best book, How Will You Measure Your Life? And and he describes the situation when he graduated at Harvard, and he said, we had the 5-year anniversary of graduation, and everybody comes and everybody is on a roll. Investment banking, consultancy, McKinsey, CEO, venture fund, started a company, valuation 300 million. He said it was like, he said 10-year anniversary, it starts to look a bit different. You have the first burnouts, you have the first people getting depressed, you have the first divorces, still some who are flying high. And he said, in every 5 years we meet, and at the 25-year anniversary, he said, probably 85% of us were either minimum once divorced, or had a breakdown, or a burnout, or were depressed. And Clayton Christensen then puts the question and says, how can this be that arguably one of the most like the best educational institutions of the world, which sets up people for, boom, a life better than you can have. I mean, at the end, what's the sense of education? Who never planned to have a burnout, to have a divorce, to have this, end up in being broken individuals 2-3 decades after they leave. You came naked, you will go naked. The one flat you bought, the 5 apartments you had, the 25 cars you had, all of this is of no value when you go away. How will you measure your life? What really matters to you? And put yourself into the 9,500, hopefully even more years person yourself, and saying, when looking back, what is it that will truly matter to me? And how will this influence my choice today? And by the way, where are the role models linked to what I want to be and how I want to feel? And let me connect with them today. Life is a continuous process. You know, this is one of the things, Leonid. There are 3 features life has, and you should never forget this. It is imperfect, it is unfinished, and it is impermanent. If you really think about any moment when you feel you have something, you achieved something, you got something, and you ask any successful sports person, the moment you got it, it's gone. And you ask people, do you know the name of your parents? They will tell you. Do you know the name of your grandparents? They will tell you. Do you know the name of your great-grandparents? Already difficult. One generation more, nothing they know. Even in the memory of others, anyhow, which doesn't give you anything, all gone. If you understand these 3 aspects and you realize that because of that, it's a permanent process life, and I should just go from one step to the next and enjoy and be fully myself in this process, you already got a lot out.